by about just a little bit, but it's tough to tell from our angle that we can see from here.
Yeah, I think Tanya may think it's the Yellowstone as well. Tough to really score here. She was looking at a little chip on the side. Don't even know if that would promote the blue to shot. But if they think it's worth a shot, they'll play it. Otherwise, she'll just be throwing it away, which I think may actually be their end decision here, and stick a measure on those two stones to see who is shot.
Yeah, I think one of the difficult things there with that chip is simply the fact that you could almost chip it out and replace it with almost the exact same color in the exact same spot, and you may be down even. But so good opportunity to just throw it away. Final stone in end number 1.
I think this is a smart decision here. So we'll see what everybody thinks, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see that laser come out. So they'll confirm before moving any of the stones in question that it is just between the two stones, the Hilliard blue stone and the MacDiarmid yellow. That was Kristen's last shot, getting it right into that button area. So we'll put a pause on the time clocks. And we'll have an official.
Yeah, umpire has been called for this one.
Looks like Julie Morley. Julie's done a few of these events through her years. She's watched a lot of these curlers grow up through the junior ranks, officiating their championships, and then of course on to the women's. And all the umpires and officials very dedicated. They're out there long hours for these games. It's a little chilly out in the ice shed.
And as we await that measure, we will just quickly update there. McAvoy gets a single in end number 1 on sheet B against Teresa Breen. Arsenault gets a deuce against Colleen Jones. And Mary McKetton Driscoll gets a single against Jill Brothers. My apologies. It is a deuce for Julie McAvoy. I didn't see the fact that they still have the hammer symbol there at the top of the scoreboard. But that could still make things interesting, because McAvoy and McKetton Driscoll being up early are two of the things that they need for a big potential for a tiebreak. Reminder that you can find all the up-to-date standings and results on the Nova Scotia Curling Association website, nscurl.com. So I was just looking down, and unfortunately did not see the result of that, so we'll at least be able to tell based on who gets into the hack.
And
so there
like
you go.
yellow.
It looks like it will be a single point for Kristen MacDiarmid to steal to start off this game 1-0 through 1. Hilliard will retain the last rock in end number 2, playing the Blue Stones. As we'll get started here with end number 2, we see Team McDiarmid's lead, Shelley Barker, starts this one off. And great to see the crowd starting to grow there as the games are reaching the end of the round robin. And of course, there's going to be some exciting playoff action starting tomorrow and through right to Sunday's finals as we determine our representatives for the Scotties Tournament of Hearts in Sydney and the Tim Hortons Briar in Brandon. If you're in the area, come on down to the Dartmouth Curling Club on Canal Street to watch some of the exciting action. Some great games so far, and I expect there's going to be even more going through into the weekend. So Team Hilliard gets that stone to the back out the 4-foot. Sitting shot stone behind the guard.
So we're seeing a fairly typical setup here. The team without hammered, MacDiarmid throwing that center guard. They would have been happy to steal in that first end and didn't have the advantage of hammered, but they still found a way to score that point. And then, of course, so center guard going up, come around from Heather McPhee. Tiny bit deep, just about a stone, and then a very, very nice freeze there out of Team MacDiarmid's lead, Shelley Barker.
Yeah, and that was definitely one of those ones that I always like. I know I use it on every broadcast, but it's a skill that so many people underestimate is the power of patient sweeping. Of just taking that time to wait for the rock to do its job, and they got the right result for the curl and get right there. A little bit of a bump on that one, so sing shot stone on the top of the button is Team Hilliard with that stone from McPhee. So on to second stones here, Carly Jones.
Okay.
I love seeing these ends set up. It really just goes down to a series of freezes and who can get the better angles, and if team's not happy with their angles, well, they're probably going to start peeling. But that one just came up enough for Carly. Looks like the two yellows are fairly well protected. There may be a hit and roll under the guard for Team Hilliard and Mackenzie Proctor. Probably just with soft weight, I think. Just try and flop under. Probably isn't going to remove this yellow stone and may end up moving their button blue stone as well. Just the one center guard out front, off the center line.
So as we see a stone here from Proctor, and sweeper's not touching it, waiting for it to go. Will get contact on the corner, so it does move it out. Sits 1-2 is the yellow of Team MacDiarmid.
Not sure if that was just a little too much weight from Mackenzie. Didn't end up what the team wanted, promoting the two MacDiarmid stones to shot and second shot.
Yeah, produces some opportunities there for Kristen if she can really place this stone well here with Carly.
Kelly Bogman going to come down here. She's looking at two options, a center guard trying to protect their two stones, or just hitting the blue stone that is at the side 4-foot that would give an in-off play into the 4-foot area for Team Hilliard. I think we're early enough in the game. I kind of agree with Kelly's thought, I think, to hit this stone and see what Team Hilliard does. If you don't play your guard perfectly, you've left a shot for Team Hilliard. So Carly's just going to hit this stone. They may be able to roll into that center line area, actually, John.
Yeah, definitely a possibility for sure, as we see this stone here from Jones, Bachman, and Barker working on it.
And they've kept this on the high side, just trying to roll it out. I think they've left a similar shot, though, for Team Hilliard, although they may not want to play it just yet.
So it looks like they are going for that stone on center line. The back yellow beside it will jam.
Hitting the guard would be the way to miss this one. You don't want to miss everything wide. They're swooping hard to get by, though. That's Taylor Clark.
Oh.
And it'll just wreck, but well, fortunate to have the shooter jam on that yellow stone that Carly just threw. So there are now 3 blue stones in the rings. 2 of them not in great scoring position behind the tee line. but Kristen can't ignore the one that's in the top 12 foot over on the side, so she'll have Kelly Bachman hit it.
So on to third stones here. Kelly Bachman looking for the hit.
And Team MacDiarmid here, they're not really looking to steal. If they were, in a desperate position to steal, they could guard the situation, but that's just too risky. You're up 1 point, and try and force the other team to a single. They'd love the shooter to hang around here. Not sure if it's still on. Might just be biting on the side of the 12 foot.
Might be one of those good old 6 foot stick type measures there if that ever were to be the case. Haven't gotten to see any of those used yet. So third stones here. Clark. Proctor working hard on this one there, and McPhee joins her.
So it's really curling. They want to stick the shooter around. So the back blue actually stayed in the ring. So an interesting situation. Yellow shot stone, blue is second and maybe even third. Not a lot of decision making though for Kristen here. Nose hit.
Suber's working on this one there. Barker gets the hit, will roll out.
So wick that that back blue rock as well. But I think if blue is second shot here, chance to sit two. Kelly would have wanted that shooter to stick around, rolled out.
Clark with her second, looking for the hit on the Sona T line. McPhee working on this one, trying to get...
Might have the double here. Her roll in front. There we go.
Does get the roll over to sit shot stone. Not right on top, but still really great results, of course. Does give some room that they can get that out should they want to play for contact on it.
The hit and roll will be great for Kristen. She rolls too far, she'll leave Tanya a chance to sit two, but she's probably setting herself up for a double on her last. The team with hammer always wants to have some separation with those stones, and the team without wants them close together to be able to make a double. So Kristen's got, at least the rocks are grouped a little bit for her sake. We haven't seen any stones go out this far on the inside-out path. This one's really curling. They'll be looking for a roll. But
it will come to the nose.
No roll. So here is where Tanya can try and sit two. But where do you put it so you don't leave a double?
Yeah, it's very difficult simply in the fact that if you can't really go right on nose because it sets up a double there. You play on the intern side, that could be probably the best option if I were throwing it, simply in the fact that it puts the pressure more on Kristen to get through the jam.
Yeah, they're talking about freezing to that side yellow stone, and that would prevent a double. I actually don't mind right in front of the other blue stone, but up higher in the rings to leave a very steep double
Yeah,
or
that's what I was
toward the
thinking
center
too.
line. So they're drawing toward that center line area, probably fairly high in the rings, so that if Kristen were to throw the double, it would elicit a jam on the back yellow stone.
Clovers. And then you get it down next year. So if you saw
But the wrong place to put this would be right beside that other blue stone on the center line, leaving a fairly makeable double for Kristen MacDiarmid.
And we've seen many times that she can make some of those magical hit shots, as we see this first stone here from Hilliard.
Oh, I thought they were playing the draw, John. They're playing a hit on that outside one.
Playing the hit probably with a little bit of a roll here, so we'll see what the result is. Does get the hit, but will roll to the side.
Rolls to the side and actually sits third. So I know what they were looking. They were looking to see if the yellow or the blue biters on the outside are closer. Of course, that would bring in a play of 3. In this case, with Tanya still sitting shot, if Kelly just peels out the blue rock, Tanya will have a hit for maybe 3. So it's going to have to be a freeze here.
they're tied 1-1.
I didn't realize that back blue one was on, but it must be. And it must be a little closer than that yellow on the, just nibbling the side 12.
Yeah, it looks like it's just barely, so opportunity for Kristen to draw down, to freeze onto the stone at the back of the 8.
But it's tricky because they haven't thrown down this side.
So here's the freeze on Kristen MacDiarmid's last stone of the second end. Tanya Hilliard with 1 to come.
Sweepers working on here, Barker and Jones. Really putting some oomph into this sweep here. Looks like it's a little, definitely down on the weight. Where will it go? They need every inch they can get here.
So it won't be shot stone, but it will be enough to prevent that score of 3 for Hilliard. So this is a draw for 2.
So opportunity for the first multiple point score of the game. All you need is full 8 for Tanya Hilliard. As she settles into the hack and gets ready to go. Just one last word to her sweepers. And here we go. Final stone in at number 2, Tanya Hilliard. The skip out of the Mayflower. Proctor and McPhee working on this one here. They just need the 8 foot. Looks good to me from here. Correction, my apologies there. Hilliard is listed as curling out of the Dartmouth Curling Club. Listed, oh no, my apologies, I'm being told otherwise.
We got it wrong a couple places. Maybe the crowd can correct us. Is it Lakeshore?
Arsenault is out of our club.
Arsenault's out of Dartmouth, yeah. Hilliard's. We've got it wrong in a couple places. We're getting corrected. I think they might be out of Lakeshore.
I know McDiarmid's listed as out of Lakeshore, but I thought they were out.
But that's a sticker, you know, where it might have been cheese. I know, because it wasn't that way when it was in there. See what's under the sticker.
So as we do get started with this third
It's all right if
play,
anyone's listening and watching and they want to correct us. Send me a message.
third end of play, so with that deuce by Hilliard, it's a 2-1 lead for her. MacDiarmid will have the last rock. And then number 3 playing the Yellow Stones.
Do you know who? Yes. It doesn't mean anything. We don't understand. Yeah.
Sweeper's working on this one early.
Trying to get this by the center guard, but it won't.
Yeah.
I'm misreading it. Yes.
So she is, yeah. Because it was.
So on to this zone here from McPhee.
Okay. All right.
The second of her 2.
And we've got it confirmed Hilliard's playing out of Dartmouth this year.
And thank you very much to our trusty spectators giving us the answer to that. You can always be thankful for a good curling fan who will probably know the facts a little bit more than us in the booth.
Now we just need them to change the overhead for us, so we can see the the house end of things. We'll get that switched.
There we go. So Shotstone is Tanya Hilliard at the top of the 8.
Starting to get very excited here. It is Friday, the last draw of the Scotties Tournament of Hearts, as John mentioned earlier, and lots of playoff implications. Top 3 teams moving forward. You can't be eliminated on a tied record, so it will go to tiebreakers.
And this is a little bit of a different situation than the men's, because the men, pretty much with the situation that they're at, they are down to their final 3, really, and it's just the final round will determine where those 3 will sit.
Exactly. It's not as straightforward here in the women's side of things.
It could be extremely not straightforward by the end of it, depending on the results. As we mentioned, up to 6 teams could finish at 4 and 3. I've seen tiebreaker extravaganza in other events. I know, I believe it was the Road to the Roar that was in Prince Edward Island.
It was.
There was tiebreakers that got to the point where they were doing them at 11:30 at night and at 6 in the morning.
Happened with my provincials for the Club Curling Championships, so formerly Travelers, a couple of years ago. We eked out of there, finishing first after the round robin. There was a 5-way tie for second. So we didn't have to come back for a couple days.
I bet you were happy that you did. You got to have that little bit of extra sleep for sure. Yeah.
Very relieved.
But we still have at least 8 to 9 ends-ish to determine who will be in the potential for having to do some tiebreakers. If that does happen, it would be at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning.
You're hoping for some tiebreakers with those with 9 ends left, or sorry, extra ends with the 9 ends left.
With how tight the games are, you never know. It could be 9 ends, but at least 8 for sure, as most of them are all into their 3rd end.
We have a 1-point game here on sheet C in the McKetton-Driscoll brothers game. McKetton-Driscoll scored 1 in the first. Brothers responded with a single in the second. They're tied at 1, playing the 3rd. Colleen Jones blanked the second, but they'll still trail Marianne Arsenault on our other feature sheet, sheet D, 2-0. And a blank for Teresa Breen in the second end. She'll still trail Julie McAvoy 2-0.
As we see a stone there comes to rest at the top of the 4-foot.
A little heavy there from Mackenzie. They would have wanted that to be in front of the other stones.
She does. She does.
Overlapping corner guards there. They're easy to peel for Team Hilliard, the MacDiarmid corner guards, but if Carly can make a roll underneath, they'll be protected for at least the 1 shot.
Oh, and as we get started there with the stone from Carly Jones, we do have an update from the New Holland Canadian Juniors out in Saskatchewan, as Team Caitlin Jones just defeated Quebec, Laurie St. George, in the rematch of last year's final and will advance on to the semifinals. So they'll be 2 wins away from defending their Canadian title and potentially, of course, their world title.
I think that was a must-win for the Jones rink.
That was a must-win as they advanced on the draw to the button record there into the semifinals. So they will be live on TSN starting at 3 p.m. Atlantic tomorrow. And we wish them the best of luck. They're competing there alongside our men's representatives, Graham Weagle, who unfortunately had a little bit of a tough run in the championship pool, but again, many years to come in junior curling for them, as they're a fairly young team. Sweeper's working on this one.
Have to hit the high side of the stone to remove the yellow. And I don't know if that yellow will roll out of the rings.
And it will.
All the way.
So sits 1, 2, 3.
Good sweep from Heather Ross and Mackenzie Proctor, front end here to hold that. Couldn't have curled up too much more. Nice thing with that, though, make the shot. The shooter stuck around. It's starting to open up the 4-foot, though. But Kristen MacDiarmid won't be too disappointed. She's got her corner guard still with her eye on that. Maybe a nice little roll over. And the other 2 Hilliard stones are behind the tee line.
So big weight here from Bachman. Looking for moving on at least 2 of those there. Will get the hit, will jam on the other, so only removes 1. And this is an exciting weekend across Canada for whether it be men's and women's curling there, as they are determining the final representatives. At least for this week, there's still a few left to be determined next week as to who will join the fields at the Tim Hortons Brier and the Scotties. Joining Team Canada, Brad Gusha at the Brier and Jennifer Jones at the Scotties.
I'm just going with what I've seen online, but I know Suzanne Burt will be representing Prince Edward Island, and I think I saw Carrie Galusha from Northwest Territories.
She will be there, and I believe they're oh yes, Saskatchewan is yet to be determined, but we are sending our well wishes to Christy Gamble, who is competing there in that event. That is up at the Humboldt Curling Club in Humboldt, Saskatchewan. Former Nova Scotian and former chair of this event when it was over at the Mayflower for the first few years.
Exactly. So good roll there from Kelly Bachman on her second to sit in front of the Bluestone, sit shot. So it's really opened up that scoring area for Kristen. There are 2 blues in the rings, so blank is looking fairly unlikely. So if this shooter doesn't end up in a great spot, or perhaps it clips out the back, I think we'll see Kristen dip around those corner guards if she can. For Tanya, it's straightforward. Just remove the yellow stone. I think she'll probably want to pick it clean if she hits it on the nose and actually removes both yellow and blue. She may have left a double.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility based on what I see there too. As we are on here to skip stones, Tanya Hilliard. Sweeper's working on this one. There, McPhee and Proctor. We'll get the pick. And we'll roll out the back, sitting 1-2.
It's a very good shot there from Tanya. No double for Kristen, but it leaves her not much of a choice if she's not going to blank. Like I was saying, draw around the corner guard, try and generate your 2 this way.
So definitely an opportunity to place this one nice behind those corner guards. and really put the pressure back on to Tanya Hilliard.
I didn't see it either.
So here's the draw.
Yeah, just, yes, you're in that spot.
On the website, the scores are on the website, and while they're
Sweepers working on this one early. Needs it to curl.
This is not close to the guard right now, but we'll see the sweepers finish it. We got Carly Jones working hard to get every last bit of curl out of that. Stone won't be in front of the blue stone, so not a jam possibility. And I think Tanya can see it from the hack. Just didn't have the broom in the right place, I'm guessing, for Kristen.
So based on how it's shaping up, it does appear like it will be the opportunity to force MacDiarmid to take a single point in this third end. Needs to hit to do so.
Yeah, funny.
Shooter doesn't have to stick around on this, just needs to make sure she makes contact with the yellow MacDiarmid stone.
So big stone here from Tanya Hilliard. Gets the hit, rolls out, and will sit 1-2. Forcing 1-2-3. Yeah, my apologies. Tough to see the blue with the blue sometimes in the overhead cameras.
So it's just a draw here for Kristen, same as she just threw. A little bit of a different path. She's not trying to come around the corner guard on this one. So she'll need full 4 foot, or at least half 4 foot, to make sure she counts for a single point.
So final stone here, Kristen MacDiarmid facing a count of 3. Sweeper's just dusting it off here. Looks good from here. And does come to rest side button to score her single to tie this game up at 3 apiece. Correction, 2 apiece, my apologies. And in the fourth end, Tanya Hilliard will have the last rock playing the Blue Stones. And as we wait for teams to get started with this fourth end of play, we did mention there Caitlin Jones advancing on to the semifinals. She will face the winner of a tiebreaker between the Team Quebec and Team British Columbia. Of course, the team out of Alberta having the bye to the Canadian Junior Women's Final.
So the draw to the button was the tiebreaker to determine Jones going to the semifinal, and Quebec obviously going into a tiebreaker game. But they had to win.
Yeah, they had to win, and they got the win that they needed. And it could be a big opportunity for their second Carly Burgess, who I believe it's been a very long time, if not ever, that in the women's juniors that someone has won 3 junior national titles. So big opportunity for her. As we see center guard put up to start off this end from Barker. And McPhee will come around, as we've seen so many times during this competition.
This one is carving itself toward that center line. Mackenzie Proctor working hard to get it by the center guard. Looked like it was out there a little bit and then really took a turn.
Yeah, it came down a lot.
Shooter spills in and the yellow guard that was tight to the rings rolls in.
So Tanya Hilliard's still sitting shot stone, so that will call on Barker to make the hit on this.
Don't want to roll too far. We'll roll to the center line. So for Tanya now, it's the fourth end. I think she'd love to score a little bit, but playing a hit here would kind of keep things clean. She might be able to generate something with a rock frozen in front of the shot yellow stone. So Heather's actually playing an in-turn at the side yellow. That's just half on the 12-foot.
Sweepers working on this one here. Clark and Proctor. Gets the hit, rolls over. And we will mention there as we see Carly selling into hack. It's a 3-1 lead for Mary McKetton Driscoll over Jill Brothers. That could be a potential for a big matchup should McKetton Driscoll get the win in that one, because that could be one of the ones in our checklist of potential tie-breaking insanity that could occur.
And McKetton Driscoll had a slow start to the week, losing their first 4 games and then have pulled off wins in the previous 2, taking down defending champion Marianne Arsenault and former finalist and Scotties competitor Teresa Breen in the last 2 games. So she's playing a little bit of spoiler there, I think. Or at least trying to. With a 2-point advantage over Jill Brothers.
So sitting 2 is Kristen MacDiarmid, so that will call on Proctor for the hit on the stone at center line. McPhee working on it, will sit right on the nose.
I think nose hit on this will still be in the rings for Team MacDiarmid. Key here with no guards in play is just to sit 2 points and try and get a force out of this. Get the hammer back only down a single. Not a great steal opportunity.
Sweepers working on it here. Bachman and Barker gets the hit, will stick there just enough to sit 2.
So does Mackenzie Proctor have the double here? Looks pretty good if she can hit that first yellow a little thin.
Calling on McPhee to go. She is working hard on this one. Will get the hit, rolls over, doesn't get contact with the other yellow. Will it spin back to the rings? It will not. A little bit of a tough result, but I don't think that probably the weight was there on that one for a double, if that was what they were going for, of course.
Oh, well, Mackenzie hit it very, very thick, so it rolled over the top. There would have been more momentum in the thrown stone had it hit a little thinner, and I think the double was there. I'll disagree respectfully.
Opportunity. For sure. We can agree to disagree there. As we see a stone here from Bachman. Opportunity to split the house. And sit 2.
If it's close to high, you leave it high, and if it looks like it's going to go too deep and leave a double, then sometimes you'll sweep a little further, but I think the double's been queued up again. And hit and roll is the other potential if it curls up a little too much. when one stone is in the top 12 foot, it's really hard not to leave something for the other team. Drawing top 12 to the side of the rings is a difficult call.
Opportunity here for Clark. Sweeper's working on this one here. McPhee
Again on the other side.
gets the hit, gets the other, and gets the double.
Good shot from Taylor Clark.
Opportunity here for Bachman, looking for the hit. Probably going to see a little bit of a clean approach to the rest of this end based on how it looks now, for sure.
Well, there is that one blue stone that Mackenzie had thrown that went over the top. If we can direct play over toward that, we may see someone try and roll under, maybe on those last of skip shots.
Here we see Taylor Clark's sweepers working on it there. Proctor will get the hit, rolls out the side.
I wouldn't have wanted to roll it out. Mackenzie was sweeping to get that last bit of curl, try and finish it, but with the up weight, finding it's not doing a lot. The up weight is running fairly straight on this surface here at Dartmouth Curling Club. And if you're throwing sweeper's weight, we have seen some really nice finish to the draws. And I say sweeper's weight because anything heavy has not really finished much.
And we have to give credit for sure to the awesome ice making crew there led by Tracy Froud, really putting in lots of hours this tournament and doing a great job with the great ice. Sweepers working on this one early here from MacDiarmid.
Just needs the paint to get Tanya to hit.
And it's funny, I mentioned there about Tracy. I said during the morning draw the story about how there was one year during the provincials there was expected to be a power outage during the evening, and he actually stayed up overnight here at the curling club to ensure that the ice stayed in tip-top shape in case the power did go out. So definitely shows his dedication.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, we've had a few snowstorms over the years that have knocked out power during events. Sweeper's working on that one early, but called off. Proctor just trying to get a little bit more and will stay right there.
So not too complicated here. We figured this end wouldn't have a ton of rocks in play. We lost those guards fairly early on lead stones. So just a hit here for Kristen MacDiarmid. Sit one, get the blank. Try and get something going in the next end.
And of course, it's hard to believe there we're already under an hour into this game, and we're already just about halfway through there. Sweeper's working on this one. Gets a hit, rolls out. excuse me. So final stone here for Tanya Hilliard. Flank the end and carry the hammer over into end number 5.
This will be the second time she's thrown a rock away. Gave up a steal in the first, but I don't think it could have. She could have done anything to help herself in that first end.
Nope. As you see, Proctor dusting it off and right on through, and the end is blanked. They will retain the hammer over into end number 5 as it stays deadlocked at 2 apiece. Reminder that following the completion of this upcoming end, there will have a short 5-minute break. But stick with us because we'll have complete coverage right up to the final rock, of course.
And we are so grateful to our streaming partner 360 Live, who's been bringing you coverage from both sheets C and D for the whole event, and will continue up until the Deloitte Tankard final draw this evening to complete the round robin for both tournaments. That game's at 7 o'clock. And then, of course, throughout the weekend with our semifinals tomorrow and finals on Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. And if you are in the Halifax-Dartmouth area and you'd like to come out and see instead of watching online, of course we encourage either way. And I know a lot of you are not watching while you're at work, but you can come out to the club on Canal Street, downtown Dartmouth, to watch as well.
I will admit, in the past, I have been guilty of doing that as well.
I've had a few messages from people who are not working and watching.
As we get started with this end guard, put up on this off-center line there from Team MacDiarmid and McPhee coming right around. We will mention there that when we come to you at 7 p.m., we will have on sheet C Kendall Thompson versus Chad Stevens, and on sheet D it will be a big game as it will be Jamie Murphy versus Stuart Thompson.
3 of those 4 teams are the ones that have, I think at this point, locked up spots in the playoffs. Jamie Murphy at 6-0, and then Chad Stevens, Stuart Thompson both at 5-1, and the next closest team is at 3 losses, so no chance for anyone else to make it in the running for those playoff spots, but depending on the finish of those games, it will determine who comes first and advances straight to the final on Sunday.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we're coming into the 5th end.
Yeah, of course, it is definitely important there, as the first place will, as you mentioned there, Selena, get the bye to Sunday's final.
The teams are on and off the ice and have started their 6th end. I really appreciate it. There's a men's washroom down towards the other set of stairs, and then there's 2 washrooms upstairs. Thanks very much.
Sweepers working on this one here from McPhee.
Trying to get the come around here. She put her first one on the button, and this one will come up, freeze right on top of it. Great pair of stones from Heather McPhee.
Good results to sit 1-2 right around the button.
So I think Kristen called a run back here for Carly. We're still in the 5 rock rule, but it's her own stone, so if it's peeled out, they're not that worried. But right now they're worried about the 2 Hilliard stones surrounding the button.
Sweeper's working on this one here. We'll remove over and open up the path to those 2 stones at the 4-foot.
Shooter rolls over for a corner. It's going to be fairly useful for the Hilliard team. We're not seeing them guard that center line. They're actually using that corner guard. This one has to slow down though. Sweepers have abandoned it. And it is not looking like it wants to stick around. Might just be a biter in the back.
Yeah, it does come to rest very close to being a biter at the back.
See that yellow stone in the back 12 foot? If this blue stone's hit on the nose with no angle, that could be a jam rock and not be helping the MacDiarmid team throwing the yellow stones.
Going for it, we'll get the hit. We'll jam the blue at the back on the yellow, and does still sit second shot.
Yeah, if that one had come up to nose, you would have still had the jam, but the thrown rock would not have rolled away. In this case, Mackenzie can hit it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
And this is a hit to sit 4.
Sweeper's working on this one, trying to get the curl. Will do so. Will the back one stay? It will, so holding a count of 4.
All around the 12 foot.
Well, at least 3 for sure, and the question is that one at the back for sure.
And you can see how this setup happened. It all started at lead rocks. 2 really nice ones from Heather for Team Hilliard. A chance to score multiple here. Team MacDiarmid trying to limit the damage. Kelly Bachman throwing a double. Not a great steal opportunity. There's no center guard and nothing really crowding that center, so they're just trying to get themselves out of trouble.
Sweeper's working on this one there. Carly Jones
Yeah, I know, but I meant.
will get the hit and pretty much limits a lot of the potential damage at the back. Still
And I think when I take it home.
does okay. It does sit shot stone there.
Yeah, a hit to sit 3 though, so for Team Hilliard, just keep hitting the open stone. That double was very makeable for Kelly, and they needed to make it, but eliminates the risk of 4 at this point. This one is not curling enough. You want to roll to the open side. Hit it on the nose, didn't get any, actually a little bit of a roll toward the guard, so not a lot of separation between those 2 blues. There's likely another double here for Kelly.
Definitely an opportunity here for Kelly Bachman. Looking for the hit. Sweeper's working on this one. There, Jones and
that will come
Clark.
up to nose. So not what this team would have wanted out of that stone. Would at least like to roll behind the guard. Taylor Clark will have that same hit and roll opportunity as on her first. Now this one's
this one there.
curling up. You don't want this to roll out.
And it will.
It was a big miss to have that roll out. Because I think now Kristen can either make this double or hit and roll under the corner guard and take this end away.
It looks like she is definitely looking for the hit and roll under. On the skip stones here, Kristen MacDiarmid.
So it's
Well, high five to your sweepers and then settle into the hack and get ready to go.
Okay, so you're working with, so his is
Deadlocked at 2 there, Kristen McDiarmid.
Nothing from the sweepers yet. I always expect the pebble to be a little fresh out here, but this one is staying wide. Will it get the back one? Oh, just over the top. So there may still be a 3 in play here for Tanya. It looked like that was shriveling up there after the miss from Taylor, the over curl and roll out. But if Tanya can sink one around that center guard, or sorry, that corner guard, it's definitely not a center guard. She can give herself a chance.
At the rate that we're going, we may need that 6-foot measure that we haven't seen out all week, based on what I've seen. But still, 3 stones before that may come out. First of 2 here from Tanya Hilliard. Sweepers just dusting it a little bit, but so far not much of a lick to it.
Starting to take its finish path now. They didn't want this to go behind the tee line, but I'll have to go there to get it buried. I think it was there on its own. So Kristen doesn't really have an option, and this is why Tanya wouldn't have wanted to be behind the tee line, because Kristen really only has this freeze. That corner guard is guarding the 2 blue stones, and if she can make a good one, it will take the end away from Tanya.
I think he has more than
So opportunity to flip this end there for Kristen McDiarmid. Plays this one just perfect. Frozen in behind there, and you'll be all good to go to put some pressure back on to Tanya. Sweepers working on this one early.
Gotta get this
Barker
by the guard first. It is diving at that guard. Tanya's was by a little bit. And they get it by. Can they get it into the 8-foot for shot?
It appears like it will.
Oh my
Just
goodness.
enough.
What a sweep out of the front end. Might have rubbed the guard actually. It looks like it's fairly open. Would have expected that to finish more around the guard, so it might have had a rub that we just didn't see, John. Think Tanya can get to the nose? It must have rubbed.
It must have, like, just simply how close it was. There would have to be less than a paper in between those, just with how close it was. But an opportunity with a little bit of a finesse weight, you get down there to it as long as you can get it removed.
Yeah, a chance for 3 here.
Big opportunity to open this game wide open going into the fifth end break and try to take a 5-2 lead if that biter is in. Final stone here in end number 5. Tanya Hilliard looking for a big multiple point end here. Will get the hit. Where will her shooter go? Looks like it will roll out the side.
Shooter will roll out.
So definitely one. The question is the other. So
Look pretty decisive. I think that was in, John.
looks like it will be in. So it'll be a 4-2 lead for Tanya Hilliard going into the fifth end break. We'll be back in just about 5 minutes for sixth end action. You're watching the 2019 Nova Scotia Scotties Tournament of Hearts live from the Dartmouth Curling Club.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to continuing coverage of the 2019 Nova Scotia Scotties Tournament of Hearts, presented live here from the Dartmouth Curling Club. I'm John Seitman, joined alongside by Selena Thompson for the call of this final round of the Nova Scotia Scotties, and this specifically this match here on sheet C between Tanya Hilliard and Kristen MacDiarmid. So we currently, after that fifth end break, it was a 2 in the fifth, which puts us to a 4-2 lead for Tanya Hilliard, and Kristen MacDiarmid will have the last rock in end number 6 playing the Yellowstones. So as we get started back with the second half, Selena, a few thoughts as we get started as to how the game's gone so far.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting game so far. Just the one and the blank end in the fourth with very few rocks in play, but otherwise been some interesting strategy and some aggressive calls. I like watching both of these teams because they're not scared to put rocks in play, and that's what the viewers like to see. Of course, it makes it a little harder for the players because they have to make the good shots, but both these teams have been doing a good job under pressure.
And as we mentioned at the top of the show, a very interesting round here, as there is a potential. We've been looking at all the tie-breaking scenarios, and there could be up to 6 teams at 4-3. Currently, Mary McKetton Driscoll up 4-2 over Jill Brothers, and Arsenault in a tight battle with Colleen Jones. So could be really right down to the wire to decide who will be in those playoff rounds, as we will have the playoff rounds starting tomorrow. Tiebreakers, if any, will start on tomorrow at 9 a.m. Then draws at 2 and 7. Could be women's and men's semifinals respectively, depending on how it goes. But again, we are probably going to see a few tiebreakers depending on the results of this round.
So we saw 2 draws there. Team Hilliard up 2 points. Rock in the rings from Heather McPhee, then a corner guard from Shelley Barker for MacDiarmid, and Heather with a freeze. And then Shelley made a nice nose hit on the 2 frozen blue stones. So the MacDiarmid Yellowstone sitting, looks like it's shot on top of another blue, but they're preserving their ability to use that corner guard later by keeping play into the center right now. Mackenzie Proctor making the same hit, didn't quite get to nose there, so here's the chance. This is what Kristen MacDiarmid was looking for, to make the hit and roll on Carly Jones' stone here, second rocks. Hit and roll behind that corner guard, and here's the chance to set up the multiple this end in the 6th. Both teams with lots of time left on the clocks. I think across the board, everyone's playing very quickly. We're all in the 6th end and all have over 22 minutes. No surprise in the Arsenault Jones game. 25 minutes apiece. They got all kinds of time.
Wow. I actually did not see that, so that would be only 13 minutes of thinking time used, roughly.
Yeah, you have about 19, excluding the 2 timeouts. So to keep things moving that quickly, I think that just goes to show they come from the same background, those 2 teams, Arsenault and Jones.
And they know each other a lot, having played against each other a lot in the past few years. And, of course, having been teammates together.
So Carly's Rock didn't quite roll behind the guard there, but now Mackenzie trying to make a hit and actually roll, I think, in front of the Yellowstone, rolls the wrong way, so same shot available for Carly. Kristen will likely just adjust either the ice or the weight. I'm going to bring the weight down a little bit to get that extra curl.
So an opportunity here for Carly Jones to adjust on the hit. Bachman working on it. Barker now jumps in. Gets the hit, rolls over toward the yellow. Still sits in the 8-foot. So opportunity now set up for Hilliard. Because of that roll towards center line, you can probably make that double.
Yeah, it's definitely there, and looks like it's just low of a nose double, but if Taylor ever hits this little high, the shooter will roll in front as well.
Good. Beautiful.
Sweeper's working on this one here.
Yeah, well, and
Called off quick.
Jim's on
Gets the hit, gets the roll, and bing, bang, boom, you got yourself a double.
first season. Once. That's it.
Does he not like it at all?
No.
Or does he mind watching it?
To sit there one. Now we'll see a hit from Kelly Bachman.
They'd love to get the roll on this one. They just saw their 2 counters removed. Now looking to actually have that roll finally and get that protection. This will be close. Great roll there. So good response from Kelly. Almost got that stone buried, probably far enough that Taylor can't make the hit, so I think we'll see Tanya asking her for the run back. Might be able to get underneath it. What can she see from the hack, do we? I always ask the thrower, can you see enough to make the hit?
To me, the only way you can do it is like similar to where she does have the broom there, going a bit of a down weight. You're probably not going to be able to play any form of big weight because it's very minimal. That's what you could see.
Well, yeah, it's all, but you know, even your
Proctor working on it. They're called off. Now McPhee joins her gets the pick on that stone and out the side. Clean house right here through third stones.
yeah, there you go.
That's where it's always useful. We watched that directional sweeping. So it was only Heather that was sweeping. We had a difference of opinion between the thrower and the skip what to call. And the skip's the one in the house. The skip's the one you listen to for the line call. And Tanya was vehemently saying no sweeping. But Heather was hearing yes. So Taylor gave her a good old tap on the shoulder, like, stop sweeping. That's what teammates are for.
Yeah, and that's one thing really that a lot of teams, ever since that new style of sweeping came into mainstream use the past few years, that people are still getting used to a little bit. They're finally starting to really fine-tune that style.
Yeah, I call it cheerleading, and it's really useful. And it's not as meaningless as maybe that sounds. The second sweeper, the one who is not sweeping, it's kind of been deemed that they're being relatively ineffective, and actually maybe going against, counteracting the closer sweeper who's sweeping against the curl. But I say it's cheerleading because that person is there to encourage the person sweeping, to reinforce what they're doing, to give them the heads up on the sweep call, because sometimes your head's down and you're sweeping and someone's telling you no, or and you can't hear it because you're so close and you're making a little bit of noise with your broom. So it's really nice to have that second sweeper to be that cheerleader. And then of course, you know, when we really need to keep the rock moving, both heads go down. But I think it's a nice change to the game and brings a little more of a team attitude into it when you wouldn't originally think that that's the case.
On the skip stones here, Tanya Hilliard looking to come around the guard of MacDiarmid's.
Yeah, Kelly Bachman just threw a nice draw, but it went to the back of the house. It's buried. So really, again, we saw this in the other end. The team without hammer is really forced into playing that freeze. Tanya's rock bumped the MacDiarmid stone, but it is behind the tee line, so Kristen can play this draw again and sit shot.
It does come to rest at the back of the 8. So, as you do mention there, Selena, Kristen going to try to play the freeze down onto it.
But anyway,
Down 2 points, her first shot in the 6th end. Krista McDiarmid looking for, sounds like I'm saying Krista, it's Kristen, looking for the draw behind cover. She needs full 8, and sweepers are working very hard to, first of all, get this by the guard, and they will, and then put it nicely in the top of the rings, shot stone, full 8, and that'll do it. Great shot from Kristen. That's overburied. I don't know that Tanya can play the hit. She might just have to play the freeze.
So it does come to rest top of the 8 sit shot stone.
So the corner freeze is the call, but Tanya was just pointing out she can come to the back. If she's a little heavy and they can get around the Yellowstone, she can come to the back blue and be shot rock. So I don't think she'll be playing for both options. It's just an awareness for third Taylor Clark to know. If things are hanging wide, maybe she's a little heavy, then change the call.
you know. Does he live in the city?
So a few last words there before settling into the hack. Big shot here for Hilliard. Sweepers pick her up pretty early. McPhee and Proctor.
This one looks close. The line's good. Can she lock it on the corner and be shot? Oh, and it just rubbed off.
Little bit of a rub.
So I think Kristen can hit. It'll jam on the back, but probably roll out and stick to shooter. I think she'll be wanting to play this with a decent amount of weight. I wouldn't play it too soft here. We've seen them start to dive at that guard. That was very close for Tanya.
Yeah, there's definitely a few very aggressive options to try to make it a play at this, but as you do say, that back back blue is probably not going much anywhere.
So this is for 2.
Final stone here. Kristen McDiarmid. Sweepers working hard on it there. Jones and Barker.
She might get the nose if they get this by the guard. It's coming awfully close to it, and it will rub.
That'll be a steal of 1 for Tanya Hilliard in this 6th end of play to take a 5-2 lead over Kristen McDiarmid. Kristen will have the last rock in end number 7 playing the Yellowstones. And in our checklist there of some of the tie-breaking possibilities, this match here, Tanya needs to win in order to keep her hopes alive, and she's definitely giving herself the opportunity, playing really well through 6.
Really good chance for 2 there from Kristen. I'm not sure what the reason. They just that one seemed to start to curl a little early. We've seen a few hits there for their team. Would really like to win. They're still in the playoff hunt even if they lose, but of course they'll be brought into that tie area of 3 losses. And of course, the other one we're watching is Marianne Arsenault and Colleen Jones. Arsenault at 2 losses. Jill Brothers versus McKett and Driscoll. Brothers at 2 losses. So if McKett and Driscoll can defeat Brothers, there'd be another team at 3 losses. I And if Jones can defeat Arsenault, well, Jones is at 3 losses, same situation as we have on our sheet. That will bring all of these teams to 3 losses.
Which that could really make things interesting going into the final few rounds of possibilities. And what could set up for tiebreakers. Still 4 ends on our sheet and 5 for some others.
I should point out, too, we do have McAvoy playing Breen. Breen at 5 losses is out of the playoff picture, but Julie McAvoy at 3 losses needs to win to stay in that tie as well. We do a round robin in order to eliminate the chances for these ties, but it still
seems
happens.
it always happens. But again, that's simply the caliber of some of these teams that are like you bring 8 of the best women's teams and 8 of the best men's teams in the same event. They're gonna put on a show and be really tight to the wire. As many of our viewers may remember, last year we had a 3-way tiebreaker in the men's side, which was pretty exciting too. It ended up that one of those tiebreakers was Stewart versus Kendall in the Battle of the Thompsons.
They had that game again this morning.
And we had that game this morning. There was a steal in the extra end that got Stewart Thompson that victory.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I think that erased Kendall's any chance of Kendall's playoff hopes and brought Stewart into the playoffs for sure. So
yeah, Kendall needed to win that game and win the game this evening to have an opportunity.
Now Kendall's brother Stewart will want him to still win this evening to try and improve Stewart's chances of finishing first in the round robin.
Because I may be wrong.
Got to win his own game, though.
I may be wrong, but you may know there. If 2 teams were say to be tied for first place, would head-to-head in the round robin decide who would be the first?
I believe so. Yeah. So that wouldn't go to a tiebreaker. Tiebreaker's only for not to.
That'd be for
elimination.
Playoff versus non-playoff. So yeah, that would be a big one there. So yeah, but tonight it would be that Murphy versus Stewart Thompson.
Yeah, Murphy the only team undefeated. So if Murphy can beat if Jamie Murphy can defeat Stewart Thompson, Murphy will finish first in the round robin. If the opposite happens, if Stewart Thompson wins over Jamie Murphy, he will also need Chad Stevens to lose to Kendall because Chad defeated Stewart already. So they could have a 3-way tie, but Murphy, if Murphy loses to Stewart, that brings in a 3-way tie, but Chad has defeated Stevens. Oh my goodness. Jamie Murphy has defeated Chad Stevens, so he would still move on.
Sometimes I could swear you need a university degree just to be able to figure out all these tiebreaker possibilities.
Yeah, if Jamie Murphy beats Stewart, then it's set. Murphy will go to the final, and Stewart Thompson, Chad Stevens will be in the semi. But if Murphy loses, it could be a 3-way tie there, I think. That's what I was trying to get across unsuccessfully. Everyone knows what I mean, right?
Oh yeah.
We could have a 3-way tie.
When in doubt, we'll just have the ones at home map out all the possibilities, and we'll see how we remember from there. But again, still lots of curling left to go as we see this stone here from Mackenzie Proctor.
Taylor's working hard to get this up to nose. They wanted it inside roll. We do have the center guard. It's a Hilliard center guard in play. Team Hilliard up 3 points. They're trying to shut down that scoring area. They're trying to keep stones around the 4-foot. So Taylor wouldn't have wanted her stone to roll to the wings. For Kristen here, though, the team has to make a decision. Do we want to go for the points here, or do we run up, make that peel, and try and open things up a little bit and try and get the 2 points later in the end? I'd be a little worried about that center guard that's there. MacDiarmid is shot. That'd be the main reason that they're not so worried about removing the center guard. But it is a small scoring area. It's into the 4 foot.
As we see Bachman and MacDiarmid discussing the call, we will just quickly mention a big count of 3 for Jill Brothers in the 6th end against Mary McKett and Driscoll to take the lead 5-4. So big stone here for Carly Jones, looking to come around and probably come onto that blue at the back of the 4 foot, just in the 8th.
So they're going the draw route. They're going for the points.
We'll push their stone in for shot stone.
Yeah, it already was shot. The only thing that happened there, a little too much of a bump actually pushed that shot stone out into the open. It's not behind the center guard anymore. The center guard is almost splitting the center line. Taylor sees another shot, though, a double on the yellow-blue to actually redirect and remove both yellows. I think it'll perhaps jam on the side, though. They're more worried about the top yellow.
Yeah, that's the first thing that I see, seeing the potential for the jam on that side blue. Taylor Clark.
This one is hanging wide, though. Does she have any of that yellow stone? No.
No, she does not.
No, Bruna.
Big opportunity here for Kelly Bachman.
That blue stone in the top 8 foot is currently out counting her own. And the one at the back is as well. So MacDiarmid sits a single. And Kristen's just looking to see if there's a chance to remove both blue stones. I don't think that Kelly Bachman can see enough to make a double.
It is fairly finesse weight that you would have to throw in there, so it would be difficult to remove both.
Yeah, and you'd be risking removing both of your own yellows if you ever hit that blue wide. So I don't think it's a great idea to play. They're going to call a timeout and have a chat about it, have the whole team down.
So timeout called. That will bring, I believe, their... that will probably bring Margaret Cutcliffe out to the ice, along with Team Hilliard's coach Paul Hilliard coming out for his team.
So 90-second timeout here doesn't count against their thinking time, although both teams have plenty of time left to finish the game off. This is more of a chance for everyone to regroup and think about, okay, what's our goal for this end, and what shot's going to help us achieve that. Though it looks like, there's probably not going to be a blank happen. We say that tentatively, but I think it's safe to say in this case. So they're going to be going for a couple points here. So how do you play a shot that can help you generate those points? They're going to have to deal with that blue stone in the top 8 foot, and right now their shot yellow is in the way. They could play some sort of a tap on their own. It groups the stones is the only concern. Leave the shooter out front more parallel with the blue stone and tap this yellow back onto the back blue. I don't know if that's the call that is being played, but could be a freeze onto the yellow as well. Either of those, I think, would achieve something in terms of being a setup shot for future.
So Kelly Bachman with her first of 2. Schubert's working on it. Jones and Barker.
And that over curled.
Wow.
Taps her shot stone back into the back 12-foot, not onto the blue. So they were playing that tap, but just over curled a hair. So now the open hit again for Taylor. This is the one that she, I want to say was a little wide on, but in this case Tanya's really tightened up the ice, so it might just be a spot that's straight as well. Been watching a lot more games on sheet D than sheet C. Although they're going hard on this one. Can she get both?
Taylor Clark with this one gets the hit, clumps it around him. Wow, that is the count of 4 right now. I don't know what to say there, Selena.
I don't think they were playing it that way. They were playing that a little, she hit that right in the crotch, and it was kind of interesting how the 2 blues floated into the back 4-foot area, creating a pocket for Team MacDiarmid. She wanted to hit that first one a little thicker and kind of punch the yellow sideways. It wouldn't have gone as far, but in this case, those 2 stones traveled back into that 4-foot, leaving this draw area for Kelly Bachman.
So opportunity here for Kelly Bachman, the longtime skipper herself, currently playing in the vice role for this MacDiarmid rink, looking for the draw to the button. Will do so. This is shot stone.
Nice weight there from Kelly. Just taps that blue a little bit. Would have maybe liked that to be a half a rock higher just to make this shot for Tanya harder. Tanya can freeze in there and try and take the end away largely.
So on the skip stones here, Tanya Hilliard. Sweeper's working on it early.
This is just a freeze. She's not trying to get shot stone here. Although she might be able to bump it enough to get shot if the line's good. Looks like it is. Just needs a freeze. A force is a great result here, and that is a very good shot.
Extremely good shot to sit second.
It's tempting for Kristen to maybe chip that blue sideways, but she'll open things up again. It's hard to tell who's shot right now. I suspect it's still the Yellowstone.
To me, I do favor the yellow on that one.
So Kristen's likely corner freezing the blue stone that was just thrown. This again would be a setup shot if she can corner freeze, and if Tanya weren't to throw, then she could just hit her own and remove the blue stone from behind it.
It was all because of you.
Big stone here for MacDiarmid, currently down by 3.
Sounds like it. I didn't realize that's really
Sweeper's working on this one.
Can they get it there? They needed full 4-foot corner freeze. It's looking good. Great shot.
Great result.
Wow.
Really good sweeping there from Barker and Jones.
Yeah, come into play.
So there's the second point that Kristen could have. She'd have to make a play on it, obviously. Tanny's just looking at if she can do anything to prevent the 2. She could make a play on her own freeze. The blue stone is buried. There's a center guard out front. A little better than, a little closer to the house than halfway. So I think they've just gone back to say, well, just guard it. That's always the possibility that that would be played. When Kristen was throwing that freeze, Tanny could just guard it and say, well, we'll give you 1.
Yep, because really, if you give Kristen MacDiarmid a 1, then get back to the hammer, you can get yourself a multiple and really put this game almost to bed late in this match.
Yes, he did. Yep.
Because that's pretty much what we saw during the morning match up there between Brent McDougall and I'm totally blanking out on who he was
playing. Kevin Ouellette, I think, or Doug McKenzie.
Oh, it was Doug McKenzie because Doug was able to get a similar result to this. We got the hammer back in the 8th and got a multiple point end the match.
So that guard will do the trick. It's preventing the raise on the Yellowstone.
So
We're always at the end of a curling end. We're always looking for in-offs and things to play, but I don't see.
I may be wrong there, but could you get to the inside of that blue right where the broom is and flop over and get a piece of the button and maybe
I think
have
that's
enough
the
for
goal
2?
here, just to hit and roll in. Soft way to hit and roll in for the second point. You have to be so careful though, because if you ever were to chip your own and somehow be rolling back, there might be a chance of the steal. It's really hard for us to tell here. But this is her best chance for the 2 points, her only shot for the 2 points.
And a much needed shot for 2 here as she currently is down by 3. Final stone for Kristen MacDiarmid. Barker and Jones working on it.
She's by.
Gets the hit. Gets the roll
Very
over.
close.
And will it be enough?
They've called it, but they haven't told us what it is, so we'll see when the score is posted.
We will take.
Whether it was 1 or 2.
But for sure, it will be a score for Kristen MacDiarmid. So Tanya Hilliard will have the last rock in end number 8, playing the Blue Stones.
I'm not getting in the middle of this.
it only took us 7 innings. It only took us 7 innings. That's a good thing.
We'll let you know as the teams are just having a discussion in between ends. It is a 4-3 lead for Colleen Jones through 7. Over on sheet B, which is right next door to us, we have Teresa Breen up 6-3 over Julie McAvoy. And a blank, and in number 7 leaves Jill Brothers, currently holding a 5-4 lead over Mary McKetton Driscoll. All these games coming right down to the wire, as many of these teams still do have, as we said, opportunities to advance to the playoff rounds.
3 hands to go. Team MacDiarmid down 2 points without hammer. They'll be likely looking to steal here in the 8th, and then maybe force in 9 and get 2 in 10, something like that. It's a hard battle to fight, but you have to go for it. Good effort on her last from Kristen, and a well-played end from Team Hilliard to get that force. We've seen Heather Ross, or sorry, she used to be Heather Ross, Heather McPhee, make these come arounds, but I don't know if this one will get by. Just rubs the guard.
And does push the yellow of MacDiarmid's closer toward the house. Is not in. That is the main thing to remember about that stone.
So shot 10, you could have called, actually. She could have called that tick. It's not as heavy as a typical tick would have been played, so the stones aren't far away from the 4-foot line. But it works to remove that center guard, even though the call was the draw.
But when I say Joyce,
Another good center guard from Shelley Barker.
So another guard put up. Opportunity here for Teresa Breen calling on Heather McPhee. Come around. It's been definitely good to see a lot more rocks in play, really playing aggressive as they are in a very crucial match, needing a win to keep their hopes alive.
And we only got 3
We're excited to be bringing this match to you along with all games between now and the championship finals. We hope you either keep tuning in or come on out and join us. It's been great to see a great crowd all week. As we see a stone there, comes to rest, top 4, shot stone.
yeah, at this point,
Good draw from Carly Jones. The team MacDiarmid looking to steal, so that's a well-positioned stone. We're starting to see the peels now. Mackenzie Proctor's up here for Team Hilliard. This one's curling. They might make this into a run back.
Yeah, they're looking up.
Gets a hit, rolls out the side there. Will it come back? It will not.
That works very well. Removes the center guard on it. We saw it jam on the side guard as well, and of course clears up a little bit of that front, a little bit of breathing room for the team with hammer, Team Hilliard. Straightforward here. Center guard being put up from Carly Jones.
Sweeper's not really touching this one. Waiting for it to come down. Will get it over, but will keep. Okay, it did just cover enough, what I can see. But again, it can probably get through there.
Yeah, there is a port, and in terms of the risk, it's a tight guard, so you may as well try and play through the port and get that really well-positioned shot stone that probably can't be replaced now that that guard is there. And if Mackenzie hits one of the rocks, well, she's okay with that. One of the guards, sorry.
Sweeper's working on this one here. McPhee working hard on this one. Heads down, going for it, and will it get by? It does not appear like it will. It will jam on the yellow, but the yellow at the back holds it in.
And there is a blue at the back 12 foot that's also out counting that side yellow. So team MacDiarmid still going for this steal though, guarding the shot stone. They have to be aware though that the second shot is Hilliard's. We're not sure if it's blue or yellow for third and fourth.
Sweeper's working on this one here from Bachman. Jones and Barker trying to get the curl over the center line. Coming down now.
Really need this to curl though. It's just not crossing the center line. Similar to Carly's. Carly's was a lot deeper and they couldn't get that to finish, and Kelly's as well just didn't cross. So even a bigger hole now for a hit to be played through.
You might want to watch the game.
Big stone here for Clark.
Well,
Looking to navigate the port, get to the yellow at the top of the 4. Proctor working on it, and getting enough. Will get to the nose.
So you can see what's happening there. It's moving the play a little further up in the house. So a nose hit is now in the 8 foot. And a nose hit here from Kelly Bachman will be even further in the 8 foot. So for breathing room for Tanya, she's got the 4 foot available now. Kelly's, of course, looking for a roll to not sit out in the open. And we just had a pick on that stone. Really unfortunate, especially was looking good to get that roll.
That it was. Unfortunately, it always seems that those happen at the least opportune times.
Absolutely.
So opportunity here for Hilliard to call on her third, Taylor Clark, to remove this.
So you would think with Tanya being shot stone, she'd want to guard again, but she wants to have an opening to score. So that's what the reason for the peel was. Kristen will try to make this hit and roll again, still trying to force now. Less of a chance to steal here now that center guard is removed.
So first to 2 here from Kelly Bachman.
They're having a timeout. Oh, you know what? The center. They put their blanket like this, right?
So this one's curling hard. They want the hit and roll. Remember, they don't want to roll out. This is on nose now, but it is really moving.
If it is even on nose.
Oh, and they'll get the back one at least. But the shooter won't stick around.
It will roll out.
Didn't know that there was a hole between those guard and the blue in the rings. That one really overcurled.
Yeah, definitely pretty much papered it right by as it went. So now it really matters who is second shot.
Tanya can hit and either sit 1 or 2, depending on which one's counting at the back.
To me, I may be wrong, but based on what I see here, I kind of favor yellow.
Me too.
On that. I think I have
Got
some
the
spectators agreeing with me there.
Crowd in agreement.
It's the one that it isn't in agreement that there seems to be Tanya Hilliard.
Yeah, I don't know the weight choice. This looks like a freeze tap call here. Or not a freeze tap, I guess a straight tap. It's a lot of ice for an up weight hit, so should be playing down weight, but it's not as much ice as you'd give for a draw or a freeze.
Yeah, they will.
So coming in on the out turn side, sweepers being called off pretty
Oh Lord,
quickly.
I was thinking Tanya was throwing yellow. Of course, she's the shot stone. She's not going to just... I'm just crazy.
It's a long week
It's
there,
a tap.
Selena.
It's just a tap. I'm like, what is she doing not hitting that stone? She'd be either sitting 2 or 3.
Does
so,
get the
yeah.
tap to sit 1,
There
2.
we go.
So it looks like Kelly appears to be suggesting the possibility of coming through the port to try to get the hit and roll.
She got 2 anyway. She did 2
So Carly's going to come down and get involved in the discussion. There was a little bit of a commotion with the large amount of rocks in play over on our other feature game. So we will keep you up to date.
It looked like a score of 2 for Marianne Arsenault, maybe a chance for 3. I think she only got 2 points to take the lead, 5-4. We'll see that score posted and keep you updated. On our sheet, we don't know how many Hilliard's sitting, at least 2. The crowd doesn't think it's 3. But Kristen MacDiarmid does not want to give up more than a single point. A force is okay, but to go down 4 points with 2 ends to go is not a good position to be in. So there is a slash double available, but it may jam on the back. And she could hit and roll, soft weight hit and roll under the guard. Sit 1. It's not made perfectly though. Chance for 2 for Tanya. Or 3, depending on that back rock situation. She can't really hit the top one and roll over. It leaves an open draw for 2 points for Team Hilliard. So I think she's got to make a play on that back one. The question always is then, would you rather hit it with more weight and remove it, freeze to it? It's a hard freeze because you have to get by the center line rock in the top 8 foot. And they could roll behind the guard or roll. I think they can get enough to roll behind that center line blue rock as well. The only thing that worries me about is it brings a jam into play. So there is a back yellow that is not in the rings. So I'm thinking she's going to hit and flop under the corner guard.
And that does appear to be what Kelly is signaling there when discussing that with her skip, Kristen MacDiarmid. So looking for the hit and flop.
I already have mine.
Sweepers working on this early there. Barker and Jones. This really comes hard off the center line. So really trying to hold it. Will just paper it. Will gets it. Noah's first shot. Great result.
I don't think that roll was there with. She just got by the guard, so just played for the nose. Tanya will have the same shot. This is for 2 points. It would be a big 2 points, considering she's already up 2. So this is to go up 4, but Team MacDiarmid currently, Yellowstone sitting shot.
So big final stone here in end number 8. Tanya Hilliard looking for at least a 2. Sweepers working on this one. Will hit, will jam out the other blue, so it will be a single points in the 8th end for Tanya Hilliard to take a 6-3 lead through 8 ends of play. Kristen MacDiarmid will have the last rock in end number 9 playing the Yellowstones. As we mentioned there, other feature game that we have, Marianne Arsenault versus Colleen Jones. It was a deuce in the 8th end. So 5-4 lead for Arsenault through 8. And it was a steal of 1 in the 8th. Sorry, correction. Sorry, a score of 1 in the 8th for Jill Brothers to take a 6-4 lead over Mary McCutton Driscoll. So far, we could be going from the many bunch of tiebreakers to potential for almost none.
We'll have to see what the last couple ends brings us here. Just want to remind everyone that we will be featuring the final round robin draw of the 2019 Deloitte Tankard, the Nova Scotia Men's Provincial Curling Championships. This evening, starting at 7 p.m. It would help if I had the right draw in front of me. On nscurl.com, you can see live scores for McDougall versus Ouellette, and of course, Fitz and LeBlanc versus Mackenzie. And the 2 games that, with playoff implications, are our 2 games. That's Kendall Thompson versus Chad Stevens and Jamie Murphy versus Stuart Thompson. So tune in this evening. And our friends at 360 Live, of course, will be bringing you video, and you'll have hopefully some fun commentating from us again.
Yeah, we'll be bringing you the call there starting, as you mentioned, at 7 p.m. Atlantic time. So hope you can join back with us for the final round of the Tankard. Should be some good games for you, the viewers. So as we've been talking about the playoff implications there, this end is underway with 2 stones now into the house there from Team Hilliard.
Heather McPhee with a couple stones in the 4-foot button area. And Shelley Barker. We're not seeing the second corner guard going up. A little surprised. We're playing the 5-rock rule, but we haven't really seen that come into play this game. This one has already overcurled though. It's on the front. Shooter will roll for slightly off center guard. Here's one of the first examples of that 5-rock rule. Tanya cannot ask Mackenzie to peel out one of those 2 yellows, so she's just going to have her guard the center line.
And that's one thing that seems to have really been just almost starting to really get used to now that they have the 5-rock rule in now into the provincial and national playdowns, and of course at the world level.
Just by hair.
So that rock from Mackenzie coming a little deep, groups in the center. So here's a chance to make a heavy draw weight tap for Carly Jones. They're going to be, Team MacDiarmid's going to be using those yellow guards out front, maybe just the one off center. Just covering the 12-foot. So Carly just put that stone right in the top 8-foot, biting top 4. Blue still sits 3. Excuse my language. I think Satania's guarding here. I'd be almost tempted to play defensive, but it's not their style. I think I'm very defensive. I'm always going, what about the peel?
And that's one of those situations where, really, if they're able to, now that they have 3 clumped in around the 4-foot, if they can make it harder on MacDiarmid and could maybe get a steal here.
Absolutely. I mean, the angles are there for hits, though. They're not lined up, and they're not all in front of the tee line. One's behind. So this shot works. You have to make it well over and over, and it'll do you some good.
So it does come to rest just off center line.
I wonder if Carly's going to run that stone back. I don't think she can see the whole thing. It's just overlapped under the yellow off-center guard that is high in the guard zone. Over on sheet B, Team McAvoy haven't been able to score since the 5th end when they were down 4-3, but a score 2 and then consecutive steals of a single in the 7th and 8th. Teresa Breen's up 8-3 over McAvoy. It's a big game for McAvoy that they need to win that to keep themselves in playoff contention. Seeing themselves down 5 with 2 ends to go.
Yeah, and she said her husband.
And we'll keep you up to date as these games are now down and back, and the games will be all done.
And it was also a steal of a single in the 8th for Jill Brothers, so she'll lead Mary McKetton Driscoll 6-4. If Jill Brothers can win, she'll keep herself at 2 losses.
And pretty much, based on what I can see there, it would be if at least a win from her guarantees her at least a semifinal spot. I don't know if that advances as we see timeout called on our sheets that will bring Paul Hilliard and Margaret Cutcliffe out to the ice.
Yeah, so I like that beer. Anyway, yeah, so we dropped in because I was on 2 Wednesdays.
It's going to be a challenging option either way, really, being that the pass to the button and to the scoring area are very challenging to get access to.
Yeah, unless they have
Oh, yeah.
All right, then, tell her
So, looking at the options of some of the angles around there, I do favor that they are going to probably need to come around that yellow and into the top. If you go to the one at the back, it to come down onto.
Are you welcome? See, no, we'll be
So the timeout will finish up. There is the...
I think they've elected to go with the guard. This was, at least my concern with playing the guard on the last one is you keep something out front, and Team MacDiarmid was able to use that stone that was put out front. So now you're, I think, somewhat committed to guarding and guarding, and maybe, if they can force MacDiarmid to a single. Right now, Team Hilliard, so their concerns are probably helped a little bit by that fact, but they are on and behind the tee line, so that's the concern.
So, stone there from Taylor Clark. Third for 10, Hilliard holding a 6-3 lead. Looking for the guard, and it appears like she has, just where it would come to rest. Right on the center line.
I think that's about as good as as Team Hilliard can do. They do have to continue guarding. They're a little close together, so might have set up a tap on the two. I wonder if Kelly Bachman will be playing this with weight to hit the inside of the blue stone to redirect it properly onto the yellow, and it's not the thickest of angles. She has to cross the face of that blue stone. Not a lot of room guard to do so. So I always call that a little bit low side, so not the broom side. The broom is on the opposite side of the center line from where this stone needs to be hit.
So big shot here for Bachman.
Got to cross center line.
Will do so, just where will it make contact?
Oh, and it just didn't curl enough. Leaves the two guards out front. Team Hilliard, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them bring another guard or one top 12 foot. Tanya's trying to keep these stones as far away from the rings, though, as possible, I think, to prevent any run-backs that Team MacDiarmid might have. I think Team MacDiarmid might have a double on the blues. I don't know if Tanya's been paying attention to that. There is a high guard. It's hard to throw these high guards. Any lead will tell you. Throw it just so it drops over the line and stops and freaks your sweepers out.
Yeah. I can say that from both sides of the perspective of being playing as the skip trying to call that, and as the lead trying to execute that precise shot.
The skip was largely taken out of those shots, though. They're just there for line. It's like the sweepers are the ones that are panicking. Will it get over? Can we get it over? That one's good. About a halfway guard. And I think we're seeing this soft weight double that I mentioned, so obviously Kristen did see it. Kelly's throwing. They need this to curl though. Need to hit it just high of nose to make that double.
Will get contact, will move it, and will sit for her too.
That does the trick. So the shooter rolled over, and it's just hard to see. I think from the hack, Tanya can actually get a hit and roll under. I don't think Kelly had any other option but to play that. The other side of the sheet is only available for a draw. This is pretty important for Tanya to try and sit a single in that 4-foot and really reduce the chances of Team MacDiarmid scoring here.
Skip stones here. Tanya Hilliard just look at from the hack end.
They may be able to play the other turn, do you think? She's got the out turn call, but we really haven't seen, I don't think, any hits this way.
Well, to me, it's challenging just simply in the positioning that the high guard is to, like, you do have to throw it honestly on the intern side. Like they now appears to have
The inside out, you mean? Or the
inside?
intern? Yeah.
Inside out. Yeah.
So she was calling the inside out, but has switched to the outside in, the intern.
Oh, sorry, outside in. What am I saying? Yeah, intern. Yeah. It's been a long day there, Selena.
I know. I didn't know who was throwing what color in the other end.
We're allowed one mistake a game.
Yeah, if I only made one mistake, I'd be lucky. Tanya Hilliard here looking for a hit and flop into the 4-foot area. Needs to roll to the full 4-foot to sit a shot. It's a tongue twister.
Sweeper's working on it there.
This one is really curling.
Wow.
Flirting with that guard, and it gets by. But she will be rolling out. That one never had a chance. So now those guards are favoring Team MacDiarmid. If Kristen can make this draw, she will sit 2 buried in the top 4-foot. She really only needs to be in 8-foot. Full 8 will do it to sit 2, and then Tanya will be forced to draw. If Tanya had made that shot, well, we'd be speaking differently. That's where it comes down to key shots and games.
For sure, and it's just simply just how close to the wire this is. And Hilliard needing to get the victory to keep her hopes alive. Blank in the Arsenault versus Jones matchup, so Colleen Jones will have the last rock in end number 10. Should Jones score 2 and win, then that would set up the possibility of tiebreakers. Sweeper's working on this here, Barker and Jones.
They need to get it to the 8-foot to be shot, or second shot. Apologies, and it will.
Great
Freeze
sweep
it
there
right
from
on their
Barker
own.
and Jones.
So that stone is buried. No choice for Tanya Hilliard but to play a draw.
I knew that. No, just go in there. Use the hammer.
So Tanya's throwing this. She needs to be full 4-foot to be shot. And she's trying to wrap this around. There is a high yellow guard that is guarding the entire side of the 4-foot. So Tanya will be looking for this to be over buried, if possible, to prevent a hit from Kristen MacDiarmid. But this is her last stone. Throwing the blue, Tanya Hilliard looking for a draw here to really down the scoring ability of Team MacDiarmid.
So big shot here. As Selena mentioned, cut down the scoring area, really put the pressure back on to Kristen McDiarmid on her skip stones.
It's taking its finish path now. Sweepers
It's coming.
just trying to get a little bit of finish out of it. It's going to the back forefoot, but it will be shot. And is that buried? Looks to be.
It appears to be from here too, so question is, can you get access to that?
So, do you know somebody on the team?
Looks like they would be coming in on that intern side.
So this will be a draw tap. Doesn't need to move that much, but she'll have to be fairly close to the high low guard. Because this rock of Tanya's, the blue stone, is over buried. So Kristen will be looking to come down to this and maybe punch it. 2 feet should do it. Very delicate shot. Sometimes you just play these as a draw and get your sweepers to help you out.
Based on the reactions around the clubhouse, looks like there's some very big last-minute drama. As it is tie game in the McKetton Driscoll brothers game, tied at 6. Brothers with the last rock.
So here's Kristen McDiarmid looking for that draw tap. Needs to be very close to that guard. They'll get it by. So now Shelley Bar just to get that curl. Needs to tap the blue. She'll make contact with it. Will it be enough? And that's good for 2 points. Great shot from Kristen McDiarmid.
So it will be a 6-5 lead for Tanya Hilliard after that deuce from McDiarmid. We'll have the last rock in the 8th end playing the Blue Stones. Looks like based on them leaving the Stones at the other end over on B, looks like it is a final for Teresa Breen. Pick out the win over Julie McAvoy. So that would end the tournament of Julie McAvoy.
It'll bring Teresa Breen to a record of 2-5, and McAvoy to a final record of 3-4. 7 games total that these teams have played throughout the week. Probably a bit disappointing for the team Breen. They were finalists a few years ago and have struggled this week. They dropped a few of their first games and came into this with a 1-5 record. They'll be happy to pick up the win to end things off on a win. And for McAvoy with playoff hopes with all these tiebreaker potentials, it'll be disappointing for them as well. I'm sure they'll head up for a well-earned drink.
As we get started here with this 10th end of play, guard gets set up, and it looks like we'll see the tech shot called for McPhee. The shot perfected 2 years, affectionately named after the lead 4 team Homan, the Weagle, as some people like to call it.
Yeah.
Because of her being so good at making it, unfortunately, that was not successfully executed. Yeah, you know that a shot, like you're so good at making a shot, when literally the curling world names the shot after you.
I haven't heard it called the Weagle as recently, but there was a time when, for sure,
and
she was the best at it.
Well, it was like, so it was for a while when John Epping of Ontario was doing so many of the angle raise shots from a mile away, they started a few commentators started calling that the Epping.
Up until this year, I played with someone whose best shot was the angle raise, and she threw our last rock, so it was really nice. We won a lot of games on that.
Yeah, there's some who are just talented enough to make those. And when you have somebody who can do it, like many of the ones out here on the ice during this event and the Deloitte Tankard, who can doubt that? Sweepers working on this there, Proctor and Clark trying to sweep for waiting for some curl.
Team Hilliard would love nothing more than to be able to hit right now. They can't because of the free guard zone. Two nice center guards up for Team MacDiarmid. They need to steal to tie. Steal 2 to win. So we'll see a freeze here into that 4-foot area. Get down here. I think we're going to be the last game out on the sheet. We've thrown the least number of rocks down to mate and skip stones in the other 2 games, so we will be keeping you updated with those finals and as best we can, playoff implications.
Yeah, we'll try to figure that out with the lovely mathematics.
Of course, pay attention to nscurl.com and the live scoring because if we aren't able to tell you after this game what happens, it will be updated on nscurl.com, and any tiebreakers for the teams you're watching will be tomorrow morning starting at 9 a.m.
Like, I don't know what's going on.
So now on the second stones here, Mackenzie Proctor, the left-hander being called on for the peel.
This one is wide though. Got a curl to make contact with the top stone, and it'll Heather McPhee just encouraging the stone to curl a bit more. It was a good shot from Carly Jones on her first to get shot stone in the 4-foot, wrap it a little bit around the blue Hilliard stone. Now just starting again. Don't want to set up a double peel, but looks like she might have done that. Might have one of these yellows hanging around after all said and done here.
Big peel once again here from Proctor.
And there's the double peel, and the shooter rolls over. Great shot there from Mackenzie Proctor. You can see how things will start to work themselves out now for Team Hilliard. There's 2 ways to remove that yellow stone. They don't need to score to win. They're up a single point. So Team MacDiarmid really going to be needing these guards, and they're likely going to be guarding the blue stone more so than the yellow at this point.
So the other games are on the skip stones. They're on the other 2 sheets, so as soon as we get updates from those at the completion, we will let you know. Looks like from what I can see from here, there's a pack of blue in for Mary McCutton.
Yeah, they're all tied, and McCutton Driscoll needs to steal to win. Play is into the rings though, so Jill Brothers will have likely a chance to score if she can open things up. On our sheet, straight peel from Taylor Clark.
Gets the hit. Rolls to the side, and still sitting shot stone is Kristen McDiarmid at the top of the 4. So back here for Kelly Bachman. Looking to protect again.
This one looks like a halfway, and we're just, as this rock comes to rest, we did see Kim Kelly throwing last stones for Team Colleen Jones, successfully drawing for a single point, so end in that game on our other feature sheet, D. Tied at 5 apiece now, and they'll take a little break and then throw the rocks up the other direction.
So that is definitely a big game, as Jones currently sitting with that record of 3-3.
And a peel there turns into a run back. That was almost disaster for Team Hilliard, but they actually picked out the shot MacDiarmid stone, but the thrown stone is still out front. So down to skip stones. Kristen can throw a draw. And she's playing this on the open side. I think she's doing a draw tap just to freeze. We're down to the last shot over in the Brothers McKetton-Driscoll game. Jill Brothers facing 3, drawing to the 4-foot for the win.
And that would be a ticket to at least the semifinals for sure, should she get there. So we will let you know once that final stone comes through. Barker working on this one.
Really looking to get a little piece of this under the guard, and it will sit. Not for shot, but it is covered and protected. So for Team MacDiarmid, in a here to steal, Tanya could peel the guard, and then I think we'd see Kristen hit the shot stone, leaving Tanya a double. Tanya just wondering.
Timeout called there.
Perhaps they make their own play into the 4-foot area now and force Kristen. Really good draw. I kind of like that. It's a very aggressive call, and as the team with Hammer, and we do see the final there. Jill Brothers successfully making that draw, so Jill Brothers will be at least in the semifinal. McKetton-Driscoll, that last loss there, they will go to a record of 5, tied with Teresa Breen.
So now that does put the implications of this one that if Hilliard does get through here, that would set up a that would set up a
tie.
Potential for a tie. Yes, it would.
Yeah, it would tie them and MacDiarmid, and then of course it would come down to Jones defeating Arsenault. We could still have a 4-way tie at 4-3.
So definitely a dramatic finish there.
So we've eliminated 2 of the potential 6-way tie, but there are still, both these games could end up all at the same, or all our teams out on the ice could end up at the same record. Still.
Yep, right down to the wire, absolutely.
So, I think the end call here is the draw. It's an aggressive call. The defensive one, of course, would be appeal. The throne stone, Kristen McDermott's yellow throne stone, is in a wonderful position, not shot. So Tanya taking advantage here and bringing another one into the 4 foot. The other thinking here is it would be a usable stone, so if Tanya can put this in the top 4 foot and Kristen makes a perfect draw on the other side of the house into the 4 foot area, this could be used to remove that shot stone as well.
So big shot here for Tanya Hill.
Yeah, Jennifer used to play competitive softball.
Sweeper's just waiting on this one.
It's been Canadians a couple times, so yeah, it's very stressful. So
McPhee and Proctor. Does get a little bit of a rub over to the side.
So Hilliard still sits shot. That one over curled a little bit, I think. They were either trying to corner freeze or not curl up quite as much. So I think the tap is the play here for Team McDiarmid. Tap their own yellow stone. Don't really see anything else that would help them a ton. They could double those two. Would leave the 4 foot open for Tanya, and she just threw a draw to it, so I'll give her a good chance to make it again.
Timeout was called there, so that will probably bring
Mark.
I don't think no, they're not coming out simply because
Oh, just for the time.
it's just for the time situation there. Down to a minute 36, wanting to have all the time that they need to be sure about this final shot.
So are we seeing a switch here?
Looks like they are going over to the other side, so we can play on the. It looks like the double to sit the 2.
The doubles at the 2, I mean, if you can steal 2, great, you win, but the shooter's going to be left open here unless she makes the double by rolling under, and then the 4 foot's available for Tanya. I personally up. It might only leave you the opportunity to steal 1, but you really do have to steal that 1. So last draw for Kristen McDermott. She needs to be shot stone after this comes to rest.
So big stone here for McDermott. Gets the hit, and it will jam. So it will be a win for Tanya Hilliard. Make the final 7-5, and that will make things interesting. So that does put Hilliard to a record of 4-3. McDermott falls to 4-3. So depending on the results of the Arsenault and Jones matchup, that could decide whether it's either a 2-way tie or a 3-way tie, I believe. A 4-way tie. So potential for up to 4. So stay tuned to our coverage of Sheet D as they are on, I believe, the 3rd stones. Actually, no, they're on the 2nd stones.
Chris Mosier has the call, and for John Seitman and myself, Selena Thompson, you hop on over there and you'll catch us later this evening for the men's draw.
See you tonight for Thompson versus Stevens.